The skies over West Asia are getting faster and deadlier. American and Israeli attacks on Iran have been intensifying as this war enters a dangerous phase.
The San Diego-based USS Abraham Lincoln is playing a major role in Iran. The aircraft carrier left San Diego in November and was positioned in the Middle East last month.
Petty Officer First Class Marcus Webb has been running the same diagnostic check on Weapons Control Station 4 for 11 months straight. Every morning, 0530, Arabian Sea, the same gray horizon, the same hum of 4 nuclear reactors pushing 100,000 tons of American naval power through warm water. He's good at his job. He's done this so many times it feels mechanical, automatic, safe. In 47 minutes, everything Marcus Webb thinks he knows about naval warfare is going to be shattered. 3 Fatah II hypersonic glide vehicles are already in their launch sequence. A Russian Kilo-class submarine, running silent at 220 meters below the surface, is watching. And the most lethal strike package ever assembled against a U.S. Navy carrier is about to reveal itself. This is how the most audacious attack in modern naval history begins. And this is the story of why it fails completely, and why what comes after is the most shocking military intelligence revelation in a generation. Set the scene. It's 0347 hours in the central Arabian Sea. The USS Abraham Lincoln, CVN-72, the 5th Nimitz-class nuclear-powered supercarrier in American history, is operating at the heart of a carrier strike group that represents the most concentrated offensive and defensive firepower afloat anywhere on Earth. 5,000 sailors and Marines, 8 squadrons of CVW-9 aircraft, including 2 full squadrons of F-35C Lightning II stealth fighters, the most capable carrier-based aircraft ever built. 4 Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyers form the protective ring, each one a warship that any other navy in the world would consider a flagship. The USS Frank E. Peterson, Jr. holds the eastern sector. The USS Spruance covers the south. Together, their Aegis combat systems are awake, networked, and breathing as one single integrated defensive brain. The Lincoln herself stretches 1,092 feet from bow to stern. Her flight deck is 4.5 acres of sovereign American territory. She carries over 90 aircraft. Her Nimitz-class reactor plant can generate enough energy to power a city of 100,000 people. Imagine you're standing on that flight deck right now. The pre-dawn air is 84 degrees. You can smell jet fuel and salt water. Somewhere below you, the reactors are cycling. Somewhere above you, an E-2D advanced Hawkeye is banking in a slow surveillance orbit, its rotodome spinning, its sensors drinking in 3 million cubic miles of airspace. This is not just a ship. This is a statement, a declaration, a fortress that moves at 30 knots. Geopolitically, the Lincoln's presence in the 5th Fleet area of operations is deliberate. Tensions across the Strait of Hormuz have been building for months. IRGC patrol boats have been provocative in the Gulf. Iranian state media has called the carrier's deployment a provocation. The rhetoric from Tehran has been sharper than usual. None of this is new, but intelligence analysts at the National Maritime Intelligence Center have flagged something different in recent weeks. Unusual satellite communications bursts from southwestern Iran, encrypted traffic that doesn't match any known IRGC frequency pattern, and anomalous Russian naval activity in the western Indian Ocean. The pieces exist. They just haven't been assembled yet. Not quite. Not yet. 260 miles northeast, in the Zagros mountain foothills of northwestern Bushehr province, something is happening that no one on the Abraham Lincoln knows about. A mobile transporter erector launcher, a TEL, has been positioned behind a rock outcropping. Then a second. Then a third. Each vehicle carries a single Fatah II hypersonic ballistic missile. The Fatah II is Iran's most dangerous weapon. Let's be precise about what that means. At launch, a Fatah II exits the atmosphere on a ballistic arc, then deploys a hypersonic glide vehicle, an HGV, capable of maneuvering unpredictably at speeds between Mach 13 and Mach 15. That's roughly 18,500 kilometers per hour. From launch to target, at this range, we're talking just under 7 minutes. You cannot outrun it. Standard interceptors struggle to track it because it doesn't follow a predictable ballistic trajectory. It glides. It maneuvers. It thinks, in a mechanical sense. Each missile carries a 450-kilogram penetrating warhead designed to punch through hardened steel. Against a carrier deck, even one hit changes the calculus of the entire theater. Now, why 3 missiles against 1 carrier? The answer is calculated psychology as much as physics. The IRGC Aerospace Force planners believe that 3 simultaneous HGV attack vectors, launched within a 90-second window, will overwhelm the Lincoln's Aegis layered defense network. The theory: even the most advanced system cannot track, calculate intercept solutions for, and fire upon 3 independently maneuvering hypersonic glide vehicles simultaneously. They've done the math. They've run simulations. They believe in their numbers. They're operating under political pressure that has distorted their analysis. A faction within the IRGC High Command needs to demonstrate a deterrent capability, not just for external audiences, but for internal ones. The leadership calculus is simple. If the Fatah II can even force the Lincoln to maneuver defensively, to flinch, that's a propaganda victory worth billions. But they're not planning to stop there. That's where the Russian submarine enters the equation. 60 kilometers southwest of the Lincoln's current position, running at 220 meters depth in near absolute acoustic silence, is an improved Kilo-class submarine, Project 636.3, equipped with 3 M54 caliber cruise missiles. The Black Hole submarine earned its nickname from its anechoic rubber coating that absorbs active sonar pulses. The plan is choreographed. The Fatah II missiles force the Lincoln's defensive networks to light up, every radar, every fire control system at full power. At the precise moment, the Kilo submarine launches 4 caliber cruise missiles from below the surface, coming in low, sea-skimming, from a direction the Aegis network is least focused on. A simultaneous high-altitude hypersonic threat from the northeast. A low-altitude supersonic sea-skimming threat from the southwest. A chess match, the planners believe, designed to overload the board. It's a sophisticated plan. It has one fatal flaw. Several, actually. Here's what they got catastrophically wrong. The coordination between the Iranian tel sites and the Russian submarine requires a communications relay, encrypted but traceable. What the planners didn't account for is that the USS Frank E. Peterson, Jr., running its AN-SPY-6V air and missile defense radar, a system that is generationally superior to anything it replaced, has not just been watching Iranian airspace for days. It's been watching the electromagnetic signature of every encrypted burst transmission in a 400-mile radius. AI-assisted signal analysis doesn't sleep. It doesn't take breaks. And it flags something the previous generation of sensors would have missed entirely. More critically, the submarine. The Kilo class is quiet, perhaps the quietest diesel-electric submarine in Russian service. But the USS Peterson and the Lincoln's embarked P-8A Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft have been conducting anti-submarine warfare operations in this sector for 6 days. 6 days of building a 3-dimensional acoustic map of the ocean. 6 days of cataloging every sound source, every biological noise, every current layer. And 3 hours ago, a single anomalous low-frequency acoustic signature, the sound of a Kilo-class submarine's diesel engine cycling down to battery power, a sound like a whisper in a library, was flagged by a passive sonar buoy field, dropped by a P-8A, at coordinates no one in Tehran or Moscow knows about. The Lincoln Strike Group has known about that submarine for 180 minutes. The hunters became the hunted before the hunting even began. 034813. The DSP Block 23 missile defense satellite network, geosynchronous at 35,700 kilometers above the Indian Ocean, detects the first Fatah II launch. The thermal bloom of its solid-fuel first-stage booster is unmistakable. A data packet, 847 kilobytes, travels at the speed of light to NavCent, to the Pentagon, and simultaneously to the combat system networks of every Aegis-equipped vessel in the Lincoln Strike Group. Elapsed time from detection to network notification, 1.9 seconds. 034815. The AN-SPY-6 radar on the Peterson acquires the first threat track. Track designation, Hostile 1. The radar is already computing an intercept solution. The second Fatah 2 launches. Hostile 2. Then, 11 seconds after the first, the third. Hostile 3. 3 tracks. 3 hypersonic glide vehicles, separating from their boost vehicles now, deploying their HGV re-entry bodies, beginning their glide phase. They're 3:48:22. General quarters sounds on the Abraham Lincoln. The alarm is not gentle. It is an avalanche of sound that punches through every compartment, every passageway, every berthing space simultaneously. 5,000 human beings are instantly awake, instantly moving, instantly purposeful. Petty Officer Marcus Webb doesn't reach for his coffee. He's already at his station with both hands on the console. Vampire, vampire, vampire. 3 words that mean the unthinkable is real. You're there now, in that combat information center, red lighting, screens alive with data, voices controlled and fast and precise. This is what 5 years of training sounds like in 12 seconds. 13:48:31. The USS Peterson's Mark 41 vertical launch system opens. SM-3 Block 2A missiles, the Standard Missile 3, a kinetic kill interceptor that uses sheer physics to eliminate threats above the atmosphere, leave their cells in a cascade of fire and smoke. Not 1, not 2. 6 SM-3s, arrowing upward at Mach 15 themselves, climbing to meet the Fatah 2 glide vehicles at the edge of space, where there is nowhere left to maneuver. 13:48:55. The Spruance's Aegis system contributes 2 additional SM-3 launches on an offset intercept geometry, attacking each Fatah 2 from a second vector simultaneously. The integration here is the point. It's not one ship or one missile or one system. It's a networked organism where every sensor feeds every weapon. The enemy simulated a defense with gaps. What they encountered has no gaps. 13:49:47. Hostile 1 is terminated. An SM-3 Block 2A kinetic kill vehicle, weighing 143 pounds, closes on the Fatah 2 glide vehicle at a combined closure speed of over Mach 25 and makes contact at 94 kilometers altitude. The collision is precise. It is instant. It is total. There is no explosion, only physics. A kinetic energy release equivalent to a 10-ton truck hitting a wall at 600 miles per hour. Hostile 1 ceases to exist in any meaningful sense. 03:50:12. Hostile 2 eliminated. Same geometry, same result. The maneuvering capability of the Fatah 2's HGV, which the IRGC planners counted on, is real. But the SM-3's onboard infrared seeker has already accounted for the maneuver envelope. It adjusted. The missile didn't so much track the target as predicted. 03:50:41. Hostile 3 is slower to die. Its glide vehicle executes a sharp directional change, a maneuver at Mach 11 that would be impossible for any conventional aircraft. 2 SM-3 interceptors miss. For 4 seconds, Hostile 3 is alive and descending. 4 seconds. That's longer than it sounds in Combat Information Center. But the Spruance's SM-6 dual-role missile, capable of engaging both ballistic and aerodynamic threats in the terminal phase, has already been fired. An SM-6, traveling at Mach 3.5, meets Hostile 3 at 22 kilometers altitude. The detonation is not quiet. You'd see it from the Lincoln's flight deck as a brief, brilliant star in the pre-dawn blackness. Hostile 3. Gone. Elapsed time from first Fatah 2 launch to last destruction, 2 minutes, 28 seconds. For reference, that's roughly the time it takes to boil a kettle. 03:51:04. The Kilo-class submarine fires. 4 caliber 3M54 cruise missiles, 533mm torpedo tubes, sea-launched, flying NOE, nap of the Earth, at wave height, supersonic in terminal phase, designed to come in under the radar horizon. Designed to. Except the Lincoln's P-8A Poseidon has been circling at 25,000 feet, with its APY-10 maritime surveillance radar, pointed precisely at the Kilo's last known position. The moment the submarine goes to periscope depth to establish launch depth, a mandatory 18 to 22 meter depth window for caliber launches, the Poseidon's radar sees the mast. and 3 seconds before the first caliber clears the tube, the P-8A has already transmitted firing coordinates. The Peterson fires 2 RIM-174 ERAM Standard Missile 6 interceptors at the cruise missiles. Not a problem at this engagement geometry. The Spruance's ESSM, evolved Sea Sparrow missiles, take the remaining 2. All 4 calibers are eliminated at between 8 and 14 nautical miles from the Lincoln. The closest detonates 9.3 nautical miles out. On the Lincoln's flight deck, you would feel nothing. Not a vibration, not a tremor. Just the slow slide of dark water and the hum of 100,000 tons of resolve. And then, the Kilo submarine finds itself illuminated. 03-5231. The P-8A drops a torpedo. Mark 54 lightweight torpedo entered the water 340 meters from the Kilo's last confirmed acoustic position. Simultaneously, the USS Peterson has closed to weapons range and deployed a second torpedo from its own system. The Kilo's commander is presented with a choice no submarine captain wants: fight, flee deeper, or surface. He has 4 empty torpedo tubes. His remaining weapons are conventional 533mm torpedoes that require him to prosecute an attack against multiple surface combatants while his boat is being actively hunted. He knows the mathematics. He makes the only rational decision. The submarine surfaces. It's an extraordinary moment. A Russian naval vessel in international waters, forced to the surface by U.S. anti-submarine warfare assets in the immediate aftermath of a coordinated attack it participated in. 3 flags visible through night vision. The Russian naval ensign, white and blue, raised by a crew that is no longer fighting. 350-400. The Lincoln Strike Group is being notified of the submarine's surfacing, even as her combat systems are already cycling into what comes next. Because defeating an attack is one thing, the response is another entirely. Authorization for counterattack comes within 9 minutes. Not because of bureaucratic speed, because the strike package has been planned, warmed, and waiting since the first satellite detection lit up the threat board. The doctrine is not revenge. The doctrine is elimination of future threat capacity. You hit a U.S. carrier strike group, the calculus that follows is not emotional. It's architectural. You remove the building. 03-57-100. 4 F-35C Lightning II stealth fighters from CVW-9, call signs Sabre Flight, are already airborne, having launched during the defensive engagement on a pre-planned combat air patrol. They are not bombing-run aircraft in this moment. They are the eyes in the suppression package. Their AN/ASQ-239 electronic warfare systems begin building a picture of Iranian air defense radar emissions along the southwestern coast. Every SA-15 Tor M2, every radar installation, every frequency, logged, categorized, marked for erasure. 03-59-30. The Lincoln fires. Her Mark 41 vertical launch system cells open in sequence. 12 Tomahawk Block 5 cruise missiles, BGM-109, each one carrying a 1,000-pound warhead with GPS-INS precision guidance to within 3 meters, are away. 12 weapons, not a bombardment, a surgical strike package. Each one has a different address. The 3 Fatah 2 tel sites in Bushehr province. The mobile command relay station that transmitted the launch coordination signals. The radar installations along the launch corridor. The support infrastructure, fuel storage, maintenance facilities, generator arrays, that makes Iran's mobile hypersonic launcher force operational. Not the missiles themselves. The entire ecosystem that makes those missiles possible. 04-02-15. The destroyers contribute. The Peterson and the Spruance each fire a volley of Tomahawks, 8 more missiles, adding to the package, attacking different coordinates on the same target set. 20 weapons total now inbound. All of them will arrive within a 12-minute window. 04-0400 lick. The F-35C Sabre Flight rolls in. Their primary task at this point is not strikes. It's SEED, suppression of enemy air defenses. An SA-15 battery that might have engaged the Tomahawks goes off the air permanently after an AGM-154C JSO strikes it from 40 nautical miles. 40 miles. The SA-15 crew never heard the aircraft. They never had the chance. 04-11-47. First Tomahawks begin impacting their targets. Tel Site 1, The rocky outcropping where the lead launcher fired its hypersonic missile 43 minutes earlier is struck by 3 Block 5 Tomahawks in a 9-second window. The precision is clinical. The launcher vehicle, the support truck, the communications equipment, the crew shelter, all of it is present in satellite imagery taken 48 hours earlier. All of it receives exactly the energy required to ensure no Fatah II will ever leave that piece of ground again. Minute 18 of the counterattack. Command relay site destroyed. Minute 22. Second TEL site eliminated. Minute 28. The radar support installation that fed targeting data to the submarine launch sequence goes dark permanently. Minute 31. The maintenance compound where the third launcher vehicle was serviced, fuel trucks, hydraulic lift equipment, spare guidance components, ceases to exist as a functional facility. And at minute 34, something nobody on the Lincoln anticipated in quite this way happens. The shock. National Security Agency intercepts, processed through SIGINT relay, and delivered to the Lincoln's intelligence officer at 04:21 hours, reveal something that reorders the entire event. The launch authorization, the specific cryptographic key used to authorize the Fatah II firings, does not match any code in the Iranian National Security Council authorization matrix. It matches a rogue command authority within the IRGC Aerospace Force, a faction operating independently of the Iranian government's sanctioned chain of command. Moreover, the Russian submarine's orders, traced through communication fragments recovered by the P-8A's Signals Intelligence Suite, were not issued by the Russian Ministry of Defense. They were issued through a separate, unauthorized communication network linked to a nationalist faction within the Russian Navy's Black Sea Fleet command structure. This was not an Iranian government attack on the USS Abraham Lincoln. This was not a Russian Navy operation. This was a coordinated rogue action by hardline factions within 2 separate militaries, acting without the knowledge or approval of their own governments, designed to trigger a confrontation that their respective political leaderships had chosen to avoid. Within 36 hours, back-channel communications from Tehran, confirmed through 3 separate diplomatic intermediaries, expressed what Western analysts characterized as genuine horror at what their own hardliners had attempted. Moscow issued a comparable private communication, simultaneously condemning the submarine's involvement and requesting a direct military-to-military deconfliction call for the first time in years. Not a ceasefire. Something more unexpected. Accountability. The attack failed militarily because the technology was never close to sufficient. It failed strategically because the planners fundamentally misunderstood what they were facing. And it failed politically because the governments they supposedly served had no desire to go to war with the United States Navy in the Arabian Sea. The shock wasn't the attack. The shock was the revelation that the greatest threat to regional stability wasn't a government decision. It was the rogue calculation of military factions operating outside of any sanctioned authority on either side. And that the Lincoln Strike Group, with its networked sensors, its layered defenses, its F-35Cs, its Poseidons, its Aegis destroyers, and its 5,000 professionals, absorbed, destroyed, and responded to the entire scenario in less time than it takes to watch a feature film. The final accounting. From first satellite detection at 03:48:13 to last Tomahawk impact at 04:19:54, the entire engagement spans 31 minutes and 41 seconds. 3 Fatah II hypersonic missiles launched, 3 destroyed, all before reaching 20 kilometers altitude. 4 Caliber cruise missiles launched from submarine, 4 destroyed, all at distances greater than 9 nautical miles. 0 weapons reached the Lincoln's defensive perimeter. 0 casualties aboard any U.S. vessel. 0 aircraft lost. The submarine forced to surface without a single torpedo leaving its tubes. The attacking infrastructure systematically eliminated by 20 precision-guided weapons. Final tally at the enemy's account. 3 hypersonic launchers destroyed. 1 command relay station destroyed. 2 radar installations eliminated. 1 maintenance compound neutralized. 1 Kilo-class submarine mission killed and surfaced. 1 rogue military faction permanently exposed and dismantled by its own government in the weeks that followed. For context, 31 minutes. That's roughly the length of a standard television episode. In that window, the most coordinated multi-axis attack ever attempted against a U.S. carrier strike group, was not merely defeated. It was dissected, responded to, and concluded. The Lincoln never altered her base course by more than 6 degrees. What does this scenario teach us about the future of naval warfare? The lesson isn't about any single weapon system. It's about integration. The SM-3 didn't stop the Fatah II because it was faster or smarter in isolation. It stopped it because the satellite that detected the launch, the Aegis radar that computed the track, the combat network that distributed targeting data, and the interceptor that executed the kill, all operated as a single organism, seamlessly, in under 2 seconds from detection to engagement authorization. The Kilo submarine was an extraordinary piece of engineering, operating at the edge of its concealment envelope. It failed because 6 days of patient, unglamorous anti-submarine work by a P-8A crew had already mapped every acoustic layer of that ocean. Persistence beat stealth, and the rogue operation failed because the attack's designers made the oldest strategic mistake in the book. They assumed the target didn't know what was coming. Against an integrated AI-augmented, multi-domain carrier strike group operating at full combat readiness in a contested environment, that assumption was fatal. Could this type of coordinated, unauthorized rogue strike, bypassing government authority on multiple sides, represent the dominant threat model of the next decade? Which decision in this entire sequence do you think was most critical? The first Aegis launch, the P-8A torpedo drop, or the Tomahawk authorization call? Drop your analysis in the comments. I genuinely want to read your take. And if this kind of deep operational breakdown is your thing, hit subscribe. Every week we go inside the scenarios that define modern military power, the technology that decides them, and the human decisions that history will remember.